Hello, welcome to Three Crows Runes. My name is Jen. Let's do some rune readings. Today I will be using the rose quartz runes. If you look at my blog, you may have seen me use the rose quartz runes during the Loki readings. They're a good rune for compassion, heart, all that good stuff. So what I'm going to do is throw down three runes. Each rune is going to represent a question, problem, or concern you may have. I'm going to explain what each of these questions is likely to be about, and then I will put the timestamps in the comments below, and you can choose which reading you need to hear. So let's go. Excuse me. Okay, that's the first one. That's the second one. I'm going to put that more in the middle in a moment. And that's the third one. Okay. There's our three questions for the day. So the first question has to do with, this is Gabo. This is the rune of the gift. Gift in ancient times wasn't just a gift, it was an exchange. So this is basically something that has to do with an exchange of some kind. It could be an exchange between two people. It could be an agreement with yourself or a decision. So if you have a question having to do with an agreement or a decision, or maybe even something to do with a one-on-one relationship, that's vague. Anyway, usually it has to do with an agreement or a decision, something that is a thing. So if that's what your question's more or less about, please go to timestamp number 1 and get your answer. Your second question today has to do with Fehu. Fehu is the rune of wealth and worth. It has to do with cattle. In the old days, that was your wealth, but it's the wealth that you tend. It's not just money that you put in a sock. It's something that makes you feel wealthy, but you have to keep taking care of it. That's the question. Your question's about wealth and or worth. And if you have a question about that, please go to timestamp number 2 and get your answer. Your third question here is represented here by Berkana. Berkana is the birch tree rune. It has to do with birth, beginnings, yin creation. For people who identify as female, it has to do with the feminine deep identity, but mostly, birth, beginnings, yin creation, that kind of thing. So if your question has to do with something like, and family, sometimes it has to do with family. Again, that's vague. If your question has to do with any of those things, please go to timestamp number 3 and get your answer. Those are your three questions. I will see you at the answers. Hello, welcome to question number 1. This is the question about Gabo, the rune of the gift, which has to do with exchanges, also decisions, agreements, and the possibility that it might be about a one-on-one relationship. We will see. So here we go. So what I'm going to start by doing is throwing down some runes around this rune, just to basically see where we stand at this moment, give a snapshot of where we're at. I'm showing runes that are leading up to this question, something that's going to help you, something that's not going to help you, and what the next step on the path is going to be. So, what led up to this? We have Berkana. Berkana is the rune of birth. It's of beginnings. It has to do sometimes with family. It has to do with yin creation. It is reversed. I'm thinking maybe, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw down a couple more runes around this one and see what this one's. I'm going to back up even a little bit further than that and see what we're dealing with. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, people. So before what happened before your question, we have Hagalaz. Hagalaz is the rune of the hailstorm. So it has to do with chaos, natural forces, but just wild things, just unexpected, uncontrolled, uncontrollable. Some wild times that you were through, just like crazy storm. And this led up to something that maybe was starting to be developed, but then got ended. What's helping you with that, weirdly, is Vunyo. Vunyo is the rune of joy. It is reversed, but it's on the helping line. So it is actually, whatever this is where it's reversed joy, so it's either your sadness or your realization that you were not happy is helping you, or you've gone deeper into yourself to find out what your inner joy is. What hasn't helped is represented here by manas. Manas is the rune of humanity. It's the din of humanity, basically. So you're going to worry about, but if I ended this, what will people think? Please try not to worry about that. Your focus really has to be, we're talking about what has already happened, but your focus really has to be, and there's your focus, on what your happiness is. Basically, there's a part of you that is tempted to feel like the voice of humanity, the din of humanity, is actually the revelation of the truth, and it's like, this is the truth, and this is, so you should always listen to that. But honestly, that's actually going to drag you down. This ended whether you chose to end it or it got ended for you. Either way, you went through a really rough time. You ended this thing that you were developing, and you were not happy, and that's what helped you do this. And you're looking towards your inner joy. You're looking for what makes you happy deep inside. And what helped that was really focusing on it, bringing your focus into that. Which brings us to today's question about Gabo, about your agreement, your decision, this decision. I think we're probably going to settle on this is a decision that happened, and you're basically focusing on it. There might be a connection with somebody else at this point where you're sort of bouncing off of people with that, like not people, but a person, a specific person. But I think mostly this question is really about a decision that you made that led up to this. So now we're dealing with this, and basically your agreement with yourself moving forward based on, I want to focus on what really makes me happy because what I was doing before did not. So what helps you now is represented here by Ivaz. Ivaz is the yew tree rune. It has to do with patience and slow growth. I know none of us like to hear that, but this is actually what's going to carry you forward. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to be something that you have to be patient with yourself with, and just let it carry you forward. What you don't want to worry about, well, what is going to drag you down, and you will be tempted to let it drag you down, is this is Thurizaz. Thurizaz is the rune of it's the thorn, it's a gateway, it's a giant. It's reversed, so it's particularly difficult as a challenge. This has been a hard challenge. I mean, you can see that. There's Hagalaz right there, and having to end something or choosing to end something that you were developing. So this has been extremely difficult. Sometimes it feels insurmountable. Please, if you feel yourself sinking down into despair, thinking this was an insurmountable challenge, try to remember, no, you know what? I know that time will pass. I know that I will be carried forward out of this. So let's try to be patient, focus on patience. I'm actually going to throw down a couple more and tighten this up a little bit as well. And when you are patient, this will actually help you hear your proper inner voice, basically, of what you need, which is coming forward from, well, I wasn't happy. What actually makes me happy deep inside? I'm focusing on that. This informs my inner voice, and this feeds me through my patience time and lets me go forward. This is an insurmountable. This feels like an insurmountable challenge sometimes, and what feeds into that is you're worried about, will I ever have a home state? Will I ever, not state like Ohio? Will I ever have a feeling of being at home? And that's what you're sort of questioning. That's sort of underlying everything. Be patient. I mean, nobody likes to hear that, but be patient. Listen to your inner voice. Try to keep focusing on what does bring you joy, and we will move forward. And we see here, it's Uruz, it's the wild ox. It has to do with health and strength. It is reversed on the path line, but I'm thinking this is probably speaking of inner strength. What helps you with that is really tend your needs. This is Nauthiz. It's the rune of need. It's upright. It's on the helping line. Look to what you need and tend that. Make sure that that's in order. What you don't want to do is represented here by Isa. Isa is the ice rune. Don't just stand there. This is Isa. It has to do with stillness. It has to do with stand still. You are moving forward even though you feel like sometimes you aren't. What will keep you moving forward, you've gone through this period of patience and slow growth. You know what you need at this point. Once you start to feel your inner strength coming back, you're still not going to feel like on your feet yet, but tend your needs and you will soon. Okay, beautiful. So what this will actually lead you to is you will be moving again. You will be not necessarily moving house, but you will be on the move again. You will have a stronger sense of following your spirit. This is Avaz. It's the rune of the horse. It has to do with spirit. It has to do with movement. And after all of this, it's going to feel great. You're going to be able to not run around so much, but you'll be able to be on the move again. You'll feel lighter. You'll feel like you've gotten through this and you actually have the energy to run around again. Wow, you guys. Question number 1, people. What an adventure you've been through. So wishing you all the best. I hope that this was clarifying and comforting, and I will see you next time. Take care. Hello, question number 2. As I said in the opening, this is the question that has to do with wealth and worth. We have Fehu here. I don't think cattle will enter into it, but Fehu is cattle, meaning that it's your wealth that you tend. It's something that makes you feel a sense of worth. It makes you feel wealthy, but it is something you do have to take care of. So this is, if your question was that, here you are. Let's throw down some runes. I'm going to start by throwing down some runes to show what led up to this. Blank rune. What's going to help, what isn't going to help, and what your next step is. And then we'll go from there. Okay. So what led up to this? We actually have the blank rune here. Again, this is a new addition to the runes. This isn't a part of the original Elder Futhark, or if it was, we wouldn't have known anyway, because you can't indicate, well, it's just blank. So, but it has to do with sometimes the divine, but the unknown, blank page, kind of misty nothingness, mystery and all that. So it looks like you've actually come from sort of an amorphous state of not kind of really anything. You sort of this feeling like, I don't know what I am, I don't know where I'm at. And what's led up to this is, let's identify, let's see, who I am, what I think of myself, and what makes me wealthy. So what helps with this is represented here by Ingvaz. Ingvaz is Ing's rune. Ing is another word for Frey. Frey was the fertility god, and it has to do with yang creation, actively creating something. And that's, I think, what's going to help with helping you discover what makes you feel wealthy, what your worth is. Maybe you're going to be making something to feel like you have wealth. Maybe you're going to be making something to have wealth. Ooh, and the good thing about that is it's going to make you really, really happy. So what do you like creating that makes you extremely happy, that links you to your joy? That's what's going to help you with your question about wealth and worth. What isn't going to help you is maybe you already had a plan for your life, for your wealth. Maybe you already had that in mind, and now you're sort of reluctant to change that. It's like, yeah, but I already decided this. I already bought this. Well, this is where the joy lives, up here. What your joy feeds into that helps you create something, that's where your joy is, and that's where you're going to feel wealthy no matter how you're making your money otherwise. This may actually have been a family business. I see Berkana here. Berkana is the rune, the birch tree rune. It has to do with birth, beginnings, but it also has to do with family. I'm guessing maybe there was a family business or a decision that you made with family that was something you were going with, but it's really, you may feel obligated to that, but at the same time, I don't know if you want to do this for your full time or whether you want to do this as, side thing including this, so you feel like you're satisfying your obligations, but really where your joy lives is with this, with creating this. So that's kind of neat. What's your next step here? We have Sovilo. Sovilo is the sun. So the sun is your source energy. So as long as you're focusing on some of this, you're actually going to be more connected to your source energy. Either way, your next step is going to be finding your connection to your source energy. Let's lay down a few more runes, get that next step covered. Ooh, okay. Ah, okay. Ooh, fireworks show. So what helps at the stage where you're going to be connecting with your source energy? Where it ties into the making the thing that brings you joy. This really taps you into your inner spirit. This is Evaz, it's the horse rune. It has to do with spirit, it has to do with movement, but it's reversed on the upper line. I would get from that maybe it also means to stop running around, maybe even running between these two things. And I say this because I'm leading up to what isn't going to help you on this line. Maybe even running between these two things, and you're finally going to say, look, what's going to help me is I'm not going to run around between these two things now. I'm just going to be calmer. I'm going to follow my inner spirit and do what brings me joy. The reason I say that's probably going to, even if you're trying to accommodate both of these things initially, it's eventually going to become a choice for this one, the one that brings you joy. Because what doesn't help you, this is interesting. Okay, I'm going to read this a couple ways. What doesn't help you, we have Tivaz. Tivaz is the rune of Tyr, the warrior god. It is reversed, it's on the lower line. You're going to be worried about not taking care of your responsibilities and duties. And this ties in with this. If it's a family business, if it's an agreement that you made before with family, something even maybe that you identified with very strongly, that's actually not going to help you. And if you're worried about that, that's going to drag you down. The other thing that I'm thinking is, according to this, if you're just reading this part, I would say that you're probably going to want to stop doing this. You're going to lay down your sword on this, but that's sort of reading outside of the spread. But that's actually what came in when I was looking at it initially. So it looks likely that you will eventually sort of choose joy, which is always a good choice, and maybe sort of start phasing out what doesn't give you joy and is more of a chore. But we'll see. Your next step here is Hagalaz, which is the rune of the hailstorm. Has to do with chaos and natural energies, but just uncontrollable wildness. I really want to see what happens next on this, so I'm actually going to throw down a couple more around this one. Ooh, quite the story, guys, people, humans. You're in new ground at this point. What helps is that you're in new ground at this point. You've this is Othala, it's the homeland rune. It is reversed on the upper line. It looks like what helps at this stage where you're in this feeling of like chaos is just letting go of things that no longer serve you. And these could have been things that you kept with you your whole life. Let them go, turn away from that. It might also mean you're leaving home, maybe for the first time. That would also help. So some of you that, some of you the other. What doesn't help is it can be overwhelming. This is Dagaz, it's the rune of the dawn, the breakthrough of the day. It's going to feel overwhelming stepping into this unknown territory. Once again, let go of what doesn't help you, let go of what doesn't serve you anymore. And what this is going to lead to is we have a new path, forward. We have Ivaz, it's the Utri rune. It has to do with patience and slow growth, patient path forward, step by step. You're taking it forward step by step. It looks like you've got a journey, your journey's cut out for you. So that's pretty exciting. Question number 2. I hope this was clarifying and comforting. I wish you a lovely day or evening, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, question number 3. This is the question that has to do with Berkana, the birch tree rune. It has to do with birth, new beginnings, yin creation, also sometimes family. So let's see what this turns out to be. It's exciting. It's all new. So I'm going to throw down a few runes just to clarify this step on the path. One is to find out what led up to this. One is to show what's helping. One is to show what is not helping. And one is to show what your next step is on the path. Ooh, kathud. Okay. So what led up to this question is something to do with Fehu. Fehu is the rune of wealth and worth. Also cattle, but probably not cattle. So maybe you've been thinking about questions about wealth, and maybe you've been sort of looking at your material situation. It is upright, so it would be material or sort of outside world type wealth or wealth or worth. And it's led you to a question about this. I'm actually going to throw down a couple more runes to clarify this. Maybe you want to start something new. Maybe this is a question about family. Or about identity. So what's my wealth situation? Who am I? Kind of thing in terms of a yin creation. Maybe you want to make more wealth, but you want to do it in such a way that it happens itself, which is pretty cool. Let's go with that. So what helps is actually represented here by Ivaz. Ivaz is the yew tree rune. It has to do with patience and slow growth. So especially if whatever you're birthing, whatever you're creating in a yin way is just to allow it to birth itself. This is definitely something where patience and slow growth is going to come into it. It's like if you plant a garden, you can't go out there and pull on the plants to make them grow. You have to just let them happen. What helps that is we have Dagas, the rune of the breakthrough of the day, dawn, sunrise, revelations. In this case, I think we're going to sort of see this as, I want to say spirit. This is spirit. This is sort of like the sun is up here, and this is I don't see Sovilo yet, but it is sort of another sun rune. So it's sort of like the sun feeds the yew tree, which grows, which helps you develop your new thing you're developing in a yin way, where it's going to be growing itself. Now, what doesn't help is you're going to have ideas for this garden, and you're also concerned about time. This is Yira. It's the rune of the harvest. It also has to do with time. Literally, Yira means year. So you're going to be sort of obsessing about this. It's like while this is happening, and you're letting it happen, it's going to be your concern, especially the time part, especially the part about how long is this going to take? Do I have enough time? How much time have I wasted? And what comes up after that is the main reason you're concerned about time is support. Maybe this leads from the Fehu element, from the wealth and worth element, because seriously, I mean, maybe you've started with some money, you want to grow it. This could be like a financial reading. You started with some money, you want to grow it, you're letting it grow itself, but you're worried, how much time do I have and how long will my support last? Maybe you only had a set amount of money with which to grow things. Either way, focus on just letting it happen, being patient, and letting the source energy shine onto it and letting it happen. Trusting that the breakthrough will happen. Now, your next step here is represented by Avaz. Avaz is the horse. It has to do with spirit and also movement. So it looks like things are moving, even though they didn't seem like they were moving. Aha. And what helps you at that point is you've done really well letting it grow on its own. Just keep doing that. We have Tivaz. It's the rune of Tyr. Tyr is the warrior god. It has to do with, yes, picking up and riding into battle, but also duty and responsibility, and it is reversed on the upward line. So it's just like lay down your sword, keep letting things grow as they will. They are moving at this point. What doesn't help is also tied in with all of this. You're worried about home. This is Othala. It's the rune of the homeland. Maybe you're sort of fixated on, I wanted to do this and it's going to give me my state of home, or maybe it's going to be, well, the support that I have, how long is that going to last? I only started with this much. What about my home? I'm worried about that. Well, if that's the case, you've done really well so far. It is moving, so keep the faith, keep moving forward. What this leads to, there's the sun. What this leads to is a bit of a more intense focus. Okay, nice. So your next step on the path line is Kanas. Kanas reversed. This has to do with fire, and usually when it's not reversed, it's a little ember that grows into a big fire. In this case, it's reversed. It usually has to do with focus. So you're focusing the movement. You basically, here's the money, here's the starting to grow, here's the movement of it, and now it's honing, it's focusing. What helps here is just keep shining that source energy onto it. Whatever has been working, keep it shining. What doesn't help is it feels like sometimes an overwhelming challenge. This is Thurisaz. It's the rune of Thorn and Giant and Gateway. It is reversed, which means very, very hard challenge. So you're worried that it might be too hard of a challenge, but you are focusing at this point. You're focusing and moving forward. Just keep shining the light on it. It'll move you forward. And the last rune in this particular spread is Laguz, the lake rune. It has to do with water, intuition, emotion, heart. It has to do with flowing. So it looks at this point like it was moving, it started focusing, and now it's flowing. So hopefully that's what you were sort of going for to begin with. I would think it would be. It looks very promising. Looks like, a lot of suspense and wondering, is it working? Is it, because you can't really see things growing in real time, not until you look back and go, oh yeah, it's been from there to there. But it does look like it has started moving, it has honed its focus, and it is flowing at this point. So it looks pretty good. Good luck with that. Really, not ironically, really good luck with that. I hope this was informative and clarifying and comforting, and I wish you a lovely day, evening, or weekend, or evening or day, whenever you're watching this, and take care. See you next time. Bye.